George, my mortgage broker is telling me that I can only own 10 investment properties, and he's referencing some Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac 10 finance properties rule. Is that true? Am I limited onto how many properties I can own? Well, thanks for coming into the creditjungle.com today. This is George Anderson.
George of the jungle, strong as he can be.
And that's actually a fair question. And the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both have a limit on the number of financed properties that you can own. And let's clarify a little bit about what is considered a financed property. So first of all, it does not include commercial mortgage loans, and that limit is for 1 to 4 family unit residences. Okay, so in other words, single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex. Now, what properties are counted in that? So there are some people that have gone out and have bought properties on seller finance transactions, which we have talked about a lot because there are many sellers out there that have these low COVID interest mortgage rates on their homes, and you're much better off negotiating purchasing the property from them, trying to work out some equitable way to get them most of their equity and take over payments on that underlying mortgage that could be in the 3s or even lower. When you are going to get another property now for a conventional loan, they will count the properties that you have purchased on seller finance. And a lot of people don't realize that that property counts. But wait a minute, that's not a conventional loan. That's a loan that I took over from the seller on that. And that loan could be FHA, could be conventional. I mean, it could just be a home that was owned free and clear by the seller, but you have a mortgage with the seller. The lender is going to figure that out when they look at your tax returns. Even if you're putting the properties into an LLC, if you are still personally liable for the mortgage debt on there and are showing an interest deduction against a property, well, that seller finance property is going to count as property number 1. If your primary residence has a mortgage on it, that's property number 2, and then you start filling in the blanks. So once you get to where you own 6 financed properties and you go to get a conventional loan, the next 4 properties that you get, number 7 through 10, they're going to have a little bit more restrictions on credit score, debt to income ratios, and you have to have a lot of reserves. So let's just say that you have 9 mortgages and each one has a $2,500 a month mortgage payment. You have to have 6 times your monthly mortgage, the sum total of your monthly mortgage payments, in reserves, not being used towards a transaction. So 9 times 2,500, 22,500, multiply that times 9. Anyway, you got to have over a solid 6 figures, in reserves, which could be, in a retirement account or, other liquid assets that generate a statement for you. But anyway, so here's the rule though, that once you get to that 10, does that mean that you can't buy any more properties? That was the question that we opened the video with here, and the answer is yes. The options that you have for that, there are credit unions, and there is one bank, a portfolio lender bank in the state of Utah, that will do additional loans like that. They'll have a limit on the number of loans that you can do with them, but you could have 20 other financed properties, and they say, oh, okay, well, if you want to pick up another one through us, we don't sell to Fannie Mae, we don't sell to Freddie Mac. We're a portfolio lender, and some of these non-QM lenders, like you've heard about the DSCR loans and the bank statement loans, they'll say, that's fine, you can go ahead and pick up another one. And they might actually have a little bit more lax guidelines, than what you have with conventional. So that's one way you can pick it up. But there's also another way that you can pick up another financed property through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac once you have your 11 properties. And the exception for that is if you were to go and buy an 11th property, that would be your primary residence. So just because you have 10 mortgages on your credit report, whether they're reporting to the credit bureaus like they would if they'd be traditional mortgages, or if they're seller finance, which would be reporting on your tax returns, you can still go get a conventional loan for a primary residence and have that be your 11th financed property if you're going to live in it. And if you've got that many rental properties, you better make sure that you've got a very clear and conspicuous intent to convert one of these properties that was your primary residence, why you're going to continue to rent that one and move into another home and then occupy that one. So anyway, so that's the rule. There's workarounds about it, many different ways to go through, different channels to be able to pick up more finance properties. And if you're interested in doing the seller finance game, well, there's no limit on if you wanted to buy 100 properties and you had the down payment and can find the sellers, you know, you can have 100 finance properties. And there's a lot of investors that have acquired a very large real estate portfolio using that strategy. So all we're talking about here is the limitations for getting a conventional loan that would be an additional finance property on a 1 to 4 unit property. So anyway, I hope that clarifies some of it. I'll have a link down here where you can get more information on that. But push button, get mortgage professional, and I would love to help you with your financing decisions going forward. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.